In Transit is a funny and poignant new Broadway musical which follows the intertwined lives of 11 New Yorkers faced with the challenges of city life. With a groundbreaking a cappella score by a team including the creators of Pitch Perfect and Frozen, In Transit takes you on a journey with people hoping to catch the express train to their dreams, including the stops they make along the way. Modern, yet timeless, In Transit is a story about all of us, set to music that will stay with you long after the ride is over. Please welcome to the stage the cast of In Transit.
I am an actor or an actress or whatever, got a fancy college theater degree. I told myself I'd be on Broadway by 30, but I blinked and poof, I turned 33. It's a game of survival, but hey, that's the biz. And New York is mad expensive, but the good news is I got tempting skills to pay my bills. That's my scheme till my dream comes true. So I do what I don't really do, so I can do what I do. That's what I do. It's not so bad, I answer calls, I print reports when no one's looking, use an office supply. Moya! I type and file while I hum Stephen Schwartz, crammed in my corner of the corporate sky. Every job's got something, makes it easy to bear, like this swanky midtown office overlooking Times Square. Out my window I see a Broadway marquee, and to me that's a hell of a view, reminding me I do what I don't really do, so I can do what I do. A survival job is a stepping stone before you become who you are. I mean, Madonna was a coat check girl before she became a global star. Meryl Streep waited tables. Marlon Brando, he dug ditches. Liza and Barbara and Patti LuPone never had a day job, bitches. But Harrison Ford and Jesus Christ both survived on carpentry. They paid their dues on the road to greatness, just like me.
Morning, Jane.
Good morning, Miss Williams.
Calendar alert. I've requested you, Jane the Brain, to work the regional conference the weekend of the 12th.
Oh, I'd love to, but I have to go to Williamsburg for my high school reunion.
Brooklyn?
Colonial.
Guess we'll all just have to get by without our temp extraordinaire. Which reminds me, today I need you to channel your powers and proof the entire annual report by 1 p.m. I know it's tight.
I got it. I'll work through lunch.
Getting it done, Jane?
You bet. It's what I do. I'm gonna miss my audition. What am I doing? I'm an actor or whatever, but I'm making self-delusion an art. And I'll go crazy in an office one more second. I'll bust out of here by getting this part. I see people who give up and leave the biz every year. Yeah, I'm 33, but baby, I'm still here. Though I'm not there yet, I can't forget that I bet on myself coming through. I'm not gonna do what I don't really do. Harvard intern, we're going to an audition. I gotta do what I do, oh yeah. I gotta do what I do, oh. I gotta do what I did, do what I do. I gotta do what I do.
When you're chasing down a dream, but your will to run is gone. When it gets to be too much and you feel you can't go on, don't you let yourself give over to self-pity and confusion. Lift your head, take a breath, and come to this conclusion. It's time to give up, go on and give up.
What?
Give up on your dreams, you'll be awful glad you did. It just ain't gonna happen, so let that ship set sail. Listen to me, child, just bail. When you graduate cum laude, but you're getting boss's meals. When you've pounded all the pavement in those bargain payless heels.
They're from Target.
When deep inside you know you've got a good head on your shoulders, and yet you're only using it to buy manila booters. That's when you give up. Ooh, you give up, hon. You gave it your best shot, girl. Now it's time for that face to be done. Why struggle towards a goal that makes you feel like shit? That's crazy, baby. Whoa, just quit. Then you'll experience what Oprah called a spiritual rebirth. You can focus on finding jobs that pay you what you're worth. Then the universe will hum as the opportunities come. For instance, how'd you like to be my junior associate for $60K a year?
Well, I really don't know.
Okay, 61.5. Come on and step up. Oh, child, step up while you can. I'll throw in the corner cubicle and the Oxford insurance plan.
With dental?
Let's not get crazy. Don't look at it as selling out. It's more like selling high. Your stock is good, folks will buy. Child, I wanna buy. So let those other dreams just die. Let those old dreams die. But just remember, Jane, those dreams.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Cut them down. Burn them up. Rip them out. Kill them all. Drown those suckers. Slice them like salami. Flush them down the toilet. That pipe in the study. Just put them in a bag and go. Stop, stop, stop. Now, let them die. Let them die.
All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. I would like everybody to, to go down the line, introduce yourselves, and then we were joined by Rick here, the musical director, and Janet Rosen down there, the producer. But yeah, the rest of the cast, please introduce yourselves and what you do in the show. Let's start here.
Sure. Hi, I'm Gerianne Perez. I play Kathy, Sophie, a stewardess, a myriad of ensemble roles.
I'm Moya Angela. I play Mama, Althea, and Mrs. Williams, or Miss Williams. She ain't married.
That's good to know. Have I called her Mrs.? My name is Margo Seibert. I play Jane.
My name is Brad Standley. I cover Nate, Trent, and Steven.
I'm Adam Bashian, and I cover the two bass roles in the show.
We couldn't tell. My name is Nicholas Ward. I play Chris and Coffee Cart Guy.
Hi, my name is Telly Leung, and I play a myriad of characters, but I mostly play Steven in the show.
Hi, my name is Aurelia Williams. I also am a standby, so I cover all the roles that Moya covers and also Nina.
Nice. And we have a couple. Oh, sorry, Chesney.
And I exist.
It's the weather, man. There is something wrong. Yeah.
My name is Chesney Snow, and I play a character named Boxman.
I want all your answers with percussion in them tonight.
Here we go. Okay.
So there are a couple Broadway debuts. Raise your hand. Yeah? All right. Congrats. But I want to get into the history of the show. We'll kick it off early. Janet, you've been with the show since, I guess, inception. It started where? In 2004 was the original inception of the show?
It started right after September 11th. The 4 writers were friends and in their 20s, and they wanted to write something that was a little bit cheery, and they were performing it in small clubs, the 4 of them, who are not here today. But I got involved about in 2010 when it went to primary stages off Broadway for a 6-7, counting Chesney, person performance of it. It's like a 6-week run. And I came in and somehow got sucked in. And I have been sort of leading it forward for the last over 6 years until we got a Broadway theater. It's gone from 6+ Chesney to 10+ Chesney now performers. And it's the first a cappella musical that's ever been on Broadway. So we sort of were groundbreaking in that respect, and audiences are loving it. So you get a standing ovation every night.
Yes, yes. The fact that it is the first a cappella musical, did that offer any, were there any roadblocks for you to get it to Broadway, or did it help the process to this is new, let's put it on?
I don't know that a cappella was particularly a roadblock. It's just that there are so few theaters compared to how many shows want theaters, that no matter what your show is, you're going to have, it's going to be very time consuming, and you've got to really stick to it to get a theater, because not only are there not that many theaters, but there are a lot of theaters that have long run shows in them that are there, like Chicago, for 20 years or something like that. So those are taken off the market immediately. So it's a challenge, and you don't give up if you care.
That's right. How many of the cast here was involved? Is this the first time you've all been involved with this production, or did any of you get involved with Off-Broadway and beforehand?
I was involved in the Off-Broadway show when Janet, our fearless producer, I can't tell you guys enough how incredible this woman is for getting it here. Most first-time lead producers never, ever get that done. So it's like really incredible. But yeah, I was part of the Off-Broadway production.
Nice. And then
as soon as it was off Broadway, I came in 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
It was 6 years, and so did I. We joined when they started reworking the show, and they added some roles to it, and Moya and I joined them.
Yeah, so what's been added? What's changed?
Well, before, there were only 6 or 7 people who did everything that all of these people do. It was tough. I mean, it's still tough, but it was unbelievably tough. It was like on another level. And I think everybody played a lot of different characters. Now they kind of spread out who everyone plays. Except for me, I've done the same 3 characters since I started this journey 6 years ago.
Wow. So
some songs changed.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was a song called Reunion that got cut in the rehearsals of Off-Broadway, which was really interesting. It was about Jane actually going to her, she actually goes to her reunion. And,
there was a song of mine that was cut.
And
just kidding.
And it was pretty funny too, because I realized the night that it was cut because I had to go back into the theater during tech to grab a bag, and I just happened to stumble into this intense meeting with the producers in the theater and the writers, and you could just see the look on the writers' faces. But it's a challenging process because you you have something for so long, and it changes over time, and you can become, you know, things become sentimental. There was a song called No Dental, which was like a reggae joint, you know, where, you know, but yeah, and then Wingman has developed a lot. Yeah, the songs
There's
have
also
developed.
the fact that now for 11 parts you brought on Gerianne as the orchestrator. So is that correct? He was brought on after the off Broadway. Brought up
Yeah,
for this?
so the 6-person version was the off-Broadway version, and then 5 years ago we brought on Gerianne to add 4 more voices. And so now we have 10 voices plus beatboxer, so 11 people on stage. So.
Yeah. So Rick, you were doing Fun Home in the same theater while this was off Broadway, right? Or is that or the time?
So the off Broadway thing we're talking quite a long time ago. This was about 2010, was it? Yeah. So there's been a lot. Lots has happened between.
It takes a while for a new musical. Well, typically.
And were you involved with the off Broadway, or did you come with the theater, or did you come with the show?
Well, I sort of see there's sort of 3 stages of this process. There was the off-Broadway thing, which was quite a while ago, several years ago, and then there was a whole gestation period where we were doing workshops and developing the show in the past 5 years. So that's where I kind of brought in around the same time Moya was, around, what was that? Was it 2010 or 2012? 11, 12. Yeah, so just between then and now, that's a whole 6 years of, and I think we did workshops and readings just about every 6 months, right? Or 6 months, we did shows of 54 Below, we did, you know, performances and what they call labs to specifically work on the material where the writers can make changes to it. So it's been a long, and so that's the process that I was involved in, never the performance of the off-Broadway show.
So for those of you, I guess recently who were added to it, or even those of you who were in it originally, what was your first reaction when you heard like, oh, it's going to be an a cappella musical?
Uh-oh. I don't have any experience with a cappella. So, except my little sister's in an a cappella group, and that's what I told them in the audition room. I was like, my little sister sings a cappella. I've gone to a lot of concerts, and they got me the job, which was nice. So it was pretty, I mean, I love complicated singing. Like, I love the challenge of this, but I had never had a cappella experience before.
When I first heard it was an a cappella musical, I thought to myself, well, is it ever going to sound full? I'm so used to doing rock musicals and musicals with big orchestra pits, and so I was like, how are we going to make that a full sound? And actually, one of the things that a lot of audience members leave telling us is that they say we forget, like partway through the show, 2 or 3 songs in, we forget that there's no orchestra and that it does sound full. And that really is a testament to our writers and also to Gerianne, who kind of arranged it in a way that is using the entire range of the human voice so that it feels we are the orchestra, you know. So it's pretty incredible. So so that fear was quickly kind of allayed, you know, pretty quickly for me.
We also have some of the best sound people on Broadway who help
My
mix
gosh.
us and do an incredible job of making sure everybody's balanced and you hear what you need to hear at certain times.
Ken Travis, our sound designer, incredible.
Because we have, like, unlike what we're doing right now, we have our normal microphones that we wear, and then we also are wearing in-ears. So we, like you see it like a rock concert.
Like Beyonce wears.
Like Beyonce.
Like Mariah Carey
or Mariah Carey didn't wear.
Edit that out.
Can we
Edit
edit that out?
Just kidding.
My name is Justin Guarini.
Actually, but you know what? I was watching that New Year's Eve with the in-ears, and my heart actually leapt out for her because I said, oh, she hears nothing. Now
Because
that I know what it's like.
We don't see Rick. Rick is in another room, and we don't have any monitors. So in our in-ears is a click track, so we can keep on tempo. He gives us our pitches, and he also counts us in. So, and we can have up to the 10 voices, plus Chesney, panned in our ears. So I can have my bass over here, I can have soprano 1 here. There was a learning curve. We may have broken down a few times, but now, like, that's how this show operates. It's kind of a technical feat.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. With, Rick, are you in like a tiny little room that you hit
He
it on
is the
head?
whiz.
The diary of
He
Anne
literally is the whiz, like in a room somewhere with the door
Edit that out.
closed. Like we had to make him a
decorated it for
special
him.
room. serious.
So we developed this entirely new method of conducting a show, which has never really been done before, and not certain whether it should ever be done again. So there's no every show that you see on Broadway pretty much has a visual reference, a visual monitor. You look behind you in the audience, and you see that there's a conductor monitor, and you see the videotape. But we don't have that because we're pretty much in the round. We're actually 3/4 thrust, but it's pretty much in the round. So anywhere where they would have put a video monitor would have been a little bit distracting. So we said, why don't we just try this without any video monitor, just all in their ears. So at the start of every song, give a chord, boom, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they're in.
Or 4, or
did it.
Now the crazy thing for actors, when you're performing in a scene, you could be in a very intimate scene with your fellow actor, but in your ear you will hear Rick say 2, 3, 4 because he's counting in everybody else. So that actually was the part that took a little getting used to, that to feel a little bit like, you have many voices in your head.
And
talking to you at the same
getting
time.
dressed while did it dooting.
Because you have so many costume changes, and there's no orchestra, so you are your own transition music.
Absolutely. We are.
So how do you do that with the costume changes?
The funny thing about it is, you would think by now, we've been doing the show since December 11th, previews, maybe November 10th or whatever. You would think like by now, you're in a groove and you got your show down. Every doggone show, I'm tired. I can't breathe. I'm like, there's one song, 4 Days Home, where I'm like, doom, 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 digga, doom, 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 doom. The whole song. Everybody else cuts out, and I start the vamp again, and I don't stop. And Kathleen Marshall, who is amazing, has us running around, pushing chairs, changing clothes 3 times, and I'm not 21 anymore. So it's hard. And I think that's the one thing that we all, at the end of the show, every single night, we finish Deep in the City, and then we all go, every single night, because it's still hard. It's still work, and I think we're proud of it, but you don't come in and a lot of shows, you kind of the orchestra takes you through the show and you ride the ride. This one, you're on a roller coaster, and it's always I
think it is that last moment that we remember that we are the orchestra. I feel like it's the final note. We're like, oh yeah, we made every single sound that happened tonight.
But you know what it is? For us, it's such a feeling of accomplishment too. But I also feel like, because our house is so intimate, that audience knows. They know how hard it was to hear 11 people on that stage making every sound for 90 minutes. They recognize that too, and I think that is why they jump to their feet at the end of the show. They know, they go, I can't believe we just saw that.
I come to this show 2 or 3 times a week just to check up, and because it's in a semicircle, I see across to the audience on the other side, and there are people that start to smile in the first minute or 2 of the show, and they keep that expression on their face the whole hour and 40 minutes. They never stop smiling through the entire thing. That's how much they enjoy it.
I like that you guys keep going back to every single sound, and there's one of my favorite scenes. Kathy, you should get a close-up on Nick's face right now. There is a point where set in New York, they do the cacophonous sound of New York City that I would love for you guys to give to us now.
Siren?
Do you want
Just get ready.
This is all coming from their mouths.
I'm not going to use the microphone.
Okay.
You don't want him to use the microphone.
Yeah, do the whole thing. Do the whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah, all of you.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Every coffee sound.
Shut the hell up!
NYC.
That's where we live.
Thank you.
8 shows a week.
That's right. Being in the round, and the audience is right up. I mean, not on you, but yeah, they're
eating cheesecake. There was a woman. We were doing Saturday night, and obviously you get a lot of people that this is their first time seeing a Broadway show, and they go to the TKTS line and they're like, oh, in transit, let's go. It's about a train, so let's do it. And so there was a woman. It was a young woman sitting on the corner of stage right. With her boyfriend, and we were doing doom, 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 and she pulls out a piece of cheesecake, and I'm like, no. And she opens it up and takes out a fork and is like
She
eating
had juniors. It was like
It was
bags of
juniors. I was
We
like,
can
all right, we're
see
now
you.
dinner theater, which is super cool.
New York cheesecake. I mean, it's part of the experience.
And she didn't even think anything was wrong with it. That's the great.
Have there been any other weird things like the audience getting up on stage? Or like there's no intermission, so an hour and 45 minutes in, people got to pee.
Well, they're warned at the top of show in a very clever way done by our writers to that if you haven't peed now, it's too late. You have to stay. And for the most part, I think that the thing is that if you're in the front row, you are in the show. If you are so close, you're closer than for the front row is here. So, which is amazing because it's really fun when people are having a really good time. It's really, really fun. But people will just forget and put their feet up on the stage and that kind of stuff.
Or tape. They will pull out their phone,
Videotape, yeah.
and I think they forget.
Videotape.
We'll remind them. You're gonna put that. Excuse me, lady. Thank you.
Do you ever do that, actually? You tell
Yes.
them?
Yes, we do.
Yeah?
James one time got in like someone's face and was like,
So the show itself, I mean, it's a big oval that's basically recreating subway platform for the majority of the show. And in the middle of it, there's this, what do you call it?
Treadmill.
A
Treadmill
a giant, was
walking
100-foot
sidewalk.
long treadmill or something. Does that thing ever break? Do you have a contingency
Yes.
plan?
Once.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing the coffee cart, and normally it's like boop boop, boop boop, boop boop, and I ride out probably midway, where the stairs end, and for some reason, I wasn't stopping. It was like boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, and I'm like boom boom, where are we going? And I'm like in my mind, I'm like, I think as actors, we all automatically like start to go through this like contingency plan of like, what am I going to do? Like if I'm jumping out now, I have to do the rap, and then am I gonna point to the, like I went through all of this, and then it stopped, and then it like backed up, and then went forward.
And I was on it walking in glitter heels and a dress. I won't
You didn't
tell
miss
you
a beat,
because you
though.
got to come see the show. But I was like walking like I was like I'll never make it home. I'll never.
What was great about that happening, though, is in shows when you're calling cues, like the treadmill or the lights, everything's on this number system, right? So if something gets off, that means almost everything else either has to catch up or, like, wait for it. So all the lights started to do the wrong cues. So the next scene after that is this scene in an office building that's fairly tame. But for this performance, it was like working at Google, because there were like disco lights going and like all sorts of crazy things in this very intimate scene. So that was pretty funny.
They had to
But,
shut
yeah.
down. They had to basically reboot the system.
Yeah.
we could hear we hear this like very intimate scene between Margo and Moya go on, and then all of a sudden we hear boom. And Marianne and I are facing upstage, and we just grab hands and we're like, it's the end of the world. We really thought we were about to meet our match.
I always think the world's coming to an end.
But that's the beauty of live theater, right? Like it's something
the
always.
beauty?
Yeah. So, well, because I feel like the audience then feels like that's the magic of live
Yes,
theater.
they're part
that's
of
not
it.
gonna, happen.
Well, you always
And how do we
remember
pull it
the
off?
show that where something went wrong.
Right.
You always when Patti LuPone like hit the light bulb and it exploded and glass went into the audience. That happened during Gypsy, and everyone was like, "What?"
What about the guy that plugged his phone into the set? Hand of God.
Yeah,
He
that was
thought
Hand
the
of
set
God.
looked like a normal set, so he plugged his phone in during the show. Yes, and they were like, "You idiot! This isn't real."
Climbed up on stage and plugged it into a prop outlet. So, did the first production have the treadmill too, or is that recent only for Broadway?
It's a very small stage. It was probably half the size of this platform, the whole stage of
No
the
kidding.
first. Yeah, it was an off-Broadway theater, very small off-Broadway
Yeah, you guys make use of the whole stage,
Yes.
and to put it on half of this, that's hard. That's really good. Chesney, I want to go to you for a second here. You've had a very interesting history. You were, if it's okay to talk about this, actually were homeless in a previous life, we'll call it, right? And then you have
that's
now,
why I moved to New York.
Yeah, now starring on Broadway. You want to touch on your journey here, how you got here?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about this show for me is that like my life has kind of always been in transit, Like we were always kind of moving from one place to the next through childhood, and we had some difficult times as a child, But I was in Arizona, and I had found myself homeless, and I was like in a homeless shelter, and they had this it was kind of like a barracks, you know, so it was all men, and it was really interesting, like glimpse into America, you know, to kind of see the various people that were there, you know. I remember there was like a father with his 10-year-old son, you know, and like the son was on the bottom bunk and the dad was on the top bunk, and like I was just looking and observing at how everyone was interacting. And I remember like there was a guy in a wheelchair with both of his legs were gone, and half of his arm was gone, and he held his POW, you know, flag high with the American flag on the wheelchair, and I just remember just there, like having that experience was like this giant leap for me in recognizing what I wanted to do in terms of my life, and just really being humbled, you know. I was sitting there, and I had just finished doing All's Well That Ends Well, so I had a little bit of money in my pocket, so I was trying to find out what was I going to do with that, you know, and it wasn't a lot of money, summer stock, you guys. So I decided, you know, I'm gonna get on a Greyhound bus, and, you know, if I'm gonna be homeless, I'd rather go be homeless in New York, because that's where my dreams are. And so I got on a Greyhound bus, and a friend of mine who was also doing summer stock, he had went to ACT in San Francisco, which is the American Conservatory Theater there, and I had met him during Julius Caesar, and I had got in touch with him, and he was like, well, you can stay at my place, you know, for like a month or two till you can find a place. This is like 2002. And so I got on a Greyhound bus and made my way across the country to New York, and that's how I started. I started by actually spitting poetry on the streets, you know, and like selling jewelry, you know, on the streets. That was kind of how I ate when I first got here, and I just kind of worked my way up. So by the time that I read the script of In Transit, which I had been in New York for almost 10 years at that point. And they say that it's a 10-year journey. I've heard this rumor. I read the script and I was like, wow, this is kind of like my life. I was like, it's finally a role that I'm right for, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to come back to this for a second, but if anybody has questions, you should start lining up over here, and we can take your question in a second. There was, for the, don't everybody
look at that light, the light.
That guy has to ask a question. So for the last 10 years or so, you were saying that you've been doing some education as well, right?
Yeah. Me and I think there are a few other teaching artists. I know Moya also. We share this passion because, well, when I was a kid, you know, when I was about 13, 14, my family and we were homeless, my sister and my mom. And so I got to this place called Platteville, Wisconsin. And it was an English teacher that really kind of changed, like turned my life around by giving us a Shakespeare assignment. And it was in that Shakespeare assignment that I was first like introduced to the magic of theater. And because I was in this really kind of, you know, I was in a place where I didn't have much self-esteem, and I was, you know, being the only black kid in the school, I was kind of, you know, isolated. And so theater was a way for me to feel confident and escape. And so I really feel in a lot of ways that it changed it saved my life in many ways. Really, it did. Because it gave me an understanding of my own brilliance, you know? There's so many things in this world that can tell you you're not brilliant, you're not brilliant, you're not brilliant, you know? But there are so many different types of intelligence, as I'm sure you at Google are aware. But yeah, so I always wanted to give back. So I've been working and teaching I teach beatbox at the Lavelle School for the Blind with my man Taylor McFerrin, another great a cappella artist, And we use beatboxing as a way to help students who are blind that have multiple disabilities communicate. So we started that program there. That's still going strong. And then I've been working in the New York City public schools as a teaching artist for about 10 years.
That's incredible. There was something you said in an interview I was watching last night. You said, you may not like everybody, you may not know everybody, but everybody is singing back up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to leave that right there.
Yeah.
It's important for
That's the
corporate
heart of the
dynamic.
show.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take a question.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. First of all, you all sound incredible. I'm really excited to come see the show. A few of you mentioned that you had no previous a cappella experience. Have you found that you had to change the way you sing? I mean, especially if you have Broadway background, you're used to like belting or, doing the star in the middle of the show thing.
God.
Like, have you found that you had to like change the way your voice sounds or like to fit in with this kind of a sound?
That's a great question, and
Yes.
I do this in the show. Absolutely. Like, so with these kind of intense orchestrations that Deke created with our 10 voices together, we're serving you musical instruments. So there's a lot of time when vibrato isn't necessarily appropriate when you're streamlining sound, to make a very specific instrumental. Yes, and also then to blend with everyone, because if everyone's vibrato's going at the same time, it might be really fun and less good. So yeah, there's I know that Telly and I both share the womp 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 womp, like when we're making what is that? Is that a bass
Guitar.
Wah wah. It's a bass
Wah wah guitar.
Yes. So yes to your question.
It is hard because I feel like in a traditional Broadway show, as a soloist, you want to ride I feel like I'm trying to ride above an orchestra at all times. But in this, oftentimes, the blend is what's important. Like, everybody singing the same vowel is what's important. Everybody, and the discipline that it takes, that took the longest, actually. This is actually much harder than actually belting a tune to the back of the row, to the back row of the theater. This is much harder.
I think in a normal Broadway show, you start rehearsal day one with music rehearsal. This one, we started music rehearsal before we started rehearsal, where we sat in a room for 8 hours a day for almost 2 weeks.
In transit jail.
And it was like, I think for a lot of us, we were kind of like, oh my God, how am I going to sing for 8 hours every day? And thank God Rick was so cool, because he knew when we started looking a little crazy, we needed to take a break. He did. But at the same time, he was slowly started creating the foundation of the show, which was us not being soloists. And really making sure that if you can't hear the person sitting next to you, then you're wrong. And he would say it with a smile in a nice, nasty way. On Thursdays, it was a little extra shady.
Shady Thursday.
So we have now Shady Thursday. But that's how the foundation of the show kind of was. And I think it took us all probably a good week before we kind of retrained our voices and our minds to think of singing a show. Because normally, you stand in front and you sing the song. Now it's really, we're all one body supporting the people telling the story in front of us.
As a point of comparison, no show that I've ever done has ever had more than 2 or 3 full days of rehearsal at the top. So we started with 10, and I remember writing to Kathleen Marshall at the beginning. I said, "Is this correct? 10 days of rehearsal? 10 days, 8 hours a day of just singing, sitting in chairs with music stands." And she was like, "Yeah, you can do that." And I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be murder." But I was. At the end, by the end of it, I was so optimistic going forward, because they put up with it so well. I mean, that takes a tremendous amount of focus and concentration to learn a score like that, and with these 10-part harmonies, and for basically 80 hours of rehearsal straight. And the fact that they could do that made me know that they could do anything. So
we would all go home and cry at night.
Absolutely.
I'm not kidding. I remember normally you get a score, and the score is what is it called? 8.5 by 11. Our score, because it's rectangular.
It's on A4 paper, and it's printed horizontally.
Thank you.
11-part harmony the entire time. So you're constantly just flipping pages as you go. It's a little insane.
It was.
Is the beatboxing written on that too, or did you get to make up your own thing?
I'm sorry?
Did you get to make up your own thing, or is it actually everything you do every night? Is it set?
It's
locked in.
The beatbox in the score is set. I mean, it's developed over years. So at first there really wasn't like percussion just laid out. We were exploring and building it over the years. Mostly Russ Kaplan, really, laid it down. And so, yeah, it is written now there.
That's
But
crazy.
It had to start from somewhere.
So there is. Oh, go ahead.
You guys developed a lot of that though in the first 10 days, right?
No, I think it was kind of like over the off Broadway for a lot of the songs, and then through the developments that we did, the readings and stuff.
So the a cappella genre, I guess subculture within mostly college age people, I would suspect, has a very specific set of groupies and followers and whatnot. Have you found that has transitioned to this show? Do you have a cappella
Some
groupies?
pretty great infansits. We like to call them infansits.
You know that?
Yeah, there are a couple of people that we see at the stage door that have come quite a few times, and they're just so happy that they get the chance to see it over and over again, because what they say is that there's so much going on in the stage because it's such an ensemble-based show. They can follow different things. Every time they come and see it, whether it's 5, 10 times, they'll see something different and hear something different, and that's kind of really lovely.
One of them gave me a note once, which I thought was adorable.
Yes, I got a note too.
Because I was on for, I think I was on for David.
Uh-huh.
And she says, oh, when the redheaded guy does that, he usually goes this way.
Oh, that kind of
Okay.
Noted. Direction. Duly noted.
It's like, well, I go this way. Thank you. No, it's very sweet, but yes, they come quite a bit.
Yeah, I
she's gonna be back at that stage door with another note.
It's interesting to go in as a cover. So me, Bradley, and Adam, we all cover more than one role, and so it's kind of interesting when you go in for something that you're not the normal person, and so coming out there's this guy. He's a young guy, kind of big guy. I don't know. He came. He was like, "This is my 5th time coming. I saw you last time you were on as the woman in the leopard print, and now you're." And I was just like, "Wow!" Like he's paying it. And he, like when I would come out, while I was on, I must have seen him at least 4 or 5 times. And I was like, "How do you have money to do that? That's amazing."
Yeah, I also think that it's another reason that it catches on too is because it's. Unlike a lot of Broadway shows, this is really New York's show. Yeah. I mean, if you're a New Yorker, if you've lived here for 6 months, you're going to find elements of your life in this show because New York itself is a character, in the show, and so I think that people love to come and see, that those hustles and that struggle and that joy and the kind of quirks of what it is to live here.
To that point too, I think a lot of people come thinking a cappella is the show. I think people think that early on we did a talk back and people thought it was they were coming to an a cappella concert. And I think actually a cappella, even though it's amazing and it's a really cool feature of the show, I think the truth is really the heart of all the different stories, and it's so relatable. And it's so tangible for every person that got the stage door, old, young, Black, white, Asian, we get them all. They all really attach onto different parts of the story. And that's what's, I think, to this day, that's still resonating so much with our audiences and why people come back, because Jane might be, they might be somebody that's now, going to school on their 2nd career, and they're like, I was Jane. I was trying to do it, and I didn't get my break. And so therefore they come back and they're like, I want to see it again because she's living my story, or the gay couple, like I'm from the South, so I know a lot of that stuff, and there's a lot of people that feel that. And so it's really, I think, the cool thing about our show.
Oh yeah, one more question.
This isn't really a question, but my mom and I have a tradition where every few months she comes to visit me here and we see a Broadway show, and the last show that we saw was actually In Transit. And when I told her that I was, that In Transit was doing a talk at my work today, she just told me to forward her compliments and thank you guys for what you do, because we really enjoyed the show.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you. What's your mom's name?
Aurelia.
Hi, Aurelia. Thank you.
So thank you for coming. I wanted to come back to this idea that New York is a character in the show, because this is one of the things that I really enjoyed about it. But we walked out of it saying, is this going to limit sort of the reach of the show? is someone who comes from rural Kansas really going to enjoy it as much as someone who lives here? And have you seen any of that?
We get that all the time, though. We get big groups from and they can. The thing about it is yes, it's a New York show, but the stories that we tell and the situations that are happening on stage are super relatable to anybody, and so it's something everyone can connect to.
And just to add to that, there is this thing that I always, because I hear that too, but one of the things that it's important to remember is the iconic nature of this city. You know, it's like I remember being in Bhutan, okay, and seeing people with the New York hats on. You know, I mean, literally in the mountains of Nepal, and seeing people, you know, seeing young kids who, you know, that country pretty much just got opened up to YouTube like not too long ago. You know, so there's this. Unlike most cities, New York has this kind of larger than life, you know, brand. And so I think that when you come here, it's easy to relate to it. You know, my family it came from Oklahoma City. You know, completely related to this show because of the nature of what New York is.
And it's also stories. The stories that they've heard about the subway. It's like then you don't have to ride the subway. You can just come see in transit. And I've had people be like, I've heard of that happening, you know, and they feel like they're part of it, you know, which is great for out-of-towners.
I mean, at the end of the day, these are very human stories, and the thing about New York that makes it unique is that it's the humanity all like on steroids, because we're all the millions of people all crowded together, and the common denominator happens to be the train.
Subway.
That like no matter how much money you make and who you are, sometimes the fastest way to get from point A to point B is the train.
It's the most efficient.
Right, it's the
way
most
to
efficient.
travel.
So I feel like it's very human stories just told in a setting where it's, you know, it's like it's humanity on steroids is what I think of it.
I mean, I'm from New Jersey, which hey, Jersey in the house. I live in Connecticut now, though. Sorry. But what's funny is even in New Jersey, it's not that far. I grew up 20 miles from Midtown, and we came out, but we didn't come out that much. And just because of the apprehension of New York being this big scary place where somebody's gonna rob you, and you know the subway is a big scary place. It's what I think that the New York story part that you see, it's something that you get whether you've been here for 10 years or 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like when you come in, there's a certain thing that you are slammed by, and it's part of why you travel here. And I think that people get it.
It's why Friends was so famous. Not everybody in Sex and the City. Not everybody that watched Friends or Sex and the City lived in New York, but yet the like comedy of it is like they're kind of caricatures of life experience, and that's why people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy," and it's funny. Oh my God, because it's true, right? You know.
Well, thank you. We are at time here, so I want to wrap this up. Go see them at Circle in the Square, 235 West 50th Street, intransitbroadway.com, on Twitter and Instagram, intransitbway. But before you get up, I would love it. Could you guys do one more song for us?
I think
Sure,
so.
we can do that. I think we can
All
do
right.
that.
Yes.
Mary had a little lamb.
Janet, you're Janet. Yes.
Cool.
So this is what it sounds like to be listening for a moment, to tune out chatter in my head and tune into the world instead. And this is what it looks like with eyes open for a moment, to notice what's outside of me, to look around and really see. And there's a strange kind of clarity, a strange kind of harmony, and I stop and breathe the life that's in the air. So this is what it feels like to be here, instead of getting there. Just looking it feels like to be here and happy in the moment and getting
Thank you, Google.
Thank you so much.